live. We shall see. Am I coming through just fine? It looks like it. Looks as though the audio is doing just fine. Yay, there we are. Woohoo! All right. Good morning, good evening, good day to you guys wherever you are at. Hope that you guys are doing well. Say Totally Tommy, great to see you here. Hannah Heaven and Dragfang37. And already we got a question right here. How would you go about writing the first words that will start off the story of your book, series, and story? Well, Dragfang, that depends entirely on the story that you want to write and what you want to convey. I can start pulling some books right here real quick to give you a little bit of an idea. So right here, the very first words to Beyonders, a world without heroes. The prince dangled in the darkness, shoulders aching, ancient manacles digging into his wrists as he tried to sleep. Burm, burm, burm. Setting the tone already for a very dark story because this is a dark fantasy. Not quite grimdark, but is a dark fantasy story. And already begins to establish the environment and everything else. So, excellent book. Most definitely recommend reading it and checking it out. Then grabbing my book, Monarch Mercenaries, which just happens to be the book right underneath that. When I turn past the introductions and opening letter to the very first words, not counting the chapter heading, which has some stuff. There's something beautiful about walking alone down a dark, frozen corridor surrounded by zombies. So already, right there, I'm helping to set the tone. This is there's some darkness. There's something messed up, but it's going to be a little bit tongue in cheek. So 2 examples right there, 2 very different stories, therefore 2 very different ways of opening. So Dragfang, as we're going to be seeing, stories will all open up differently depending on what is in them. And we're going to get into more of that tonight. Hannah, hey, good to see you here. Master Knight DH, I got to work on writing the start, and I realized I could have given a character himself intended to be a magnificent baddie help to establish deeper problems in the protagonist's power base. It's the result of problem solving. Well, fantastic. You've realized an issue, and you're already coming up with a solution. That is what we love to see from authors. Master Knight DH. Arts is here. Howdy, guys. Ventek, hello. Good to have you here, Ventek. And Jiraj is here as well. Hello. Great to see you all here. So, I'll just be honest right off the bat. This is going to be one of the shorter streams, not just because the lesson and assignment tonight is a little bit more straightforward, but also because I need to make sure that I am ready to go to the Arizona Renaissance Festival. I will have the opportunity to sell my books this weekend at the fair, and that's pretty exciting. I got to make sure that I've got everything ready to go because I have to be there before the fair opens up, and that is about a hour and 45 minute, 2-hour drive for me very early in the morning. So this will not be the longest stream of the lot, but I am happy to be here nonetheless. Art's nice. Hope you make big monies. I'm hoping so too. Though, to be honest, I'll probably lose some money on this venture, but I'm actually okay with that in this case because going to the Arizona Renaissance Festival and having a chance to sell my books there is more about an opportunity of making a name for myself. Being there, being seen amongst the crowds. Of course, I definitely want to sell books, but there's also the opportunity to hand out business cards, to have conversations with people, entice them to read. I'm hoping to have a number of books I can give away as freebies. So since we are coming into the month of February with Valentine's Day and everything like that, I'm going to have free copies of my book, Notice Me, Send Pie, that I will give away to interested people at no cost to them. They don't even need to buy one of my books in order to get a copy of that. And the hope is, and this is actually something that I know that right now Neil Gaiman is definitely persona non grata, and rightfully so for all the things he's been doing if those alleged things have been very bad. But Neil Gaiman once talked about how at a book fair, they wanted to give away one of his books for free. And he was all like, no, it's my book. Do you know how much work I've put into this book? I deserve the monies from it. And what he found out, interestingly enough, is that even though he didn't sell as many books as he had hoped by giving away books for free, he actually ended up selling more books immediately afterwards, because people who got these free books are like, he gave me a book for free. Well, that's neat. Let me read it. Ooh, I like his book. Okay, then I'm going to buy more of his books. And so he ended up selling more books as a result of that. So I'm going to give that a try on a much smaller scale and see what happens. So going to the Arizona Renaissance Festival, for me, is ultimately just an opportunity to try some things out, to get my name out there. If I make big money, fantastic. If not, oh well. George, I would purchase one if I didn't live on the other side of the planet. Well, if you have access to Amazon and to shipping, since I publish through Amazon, so long as any territory has access to Amazon, you should be able in that territory to get a copy of my book. The problem is going to be shipping costs, because that's where Amazon makes their big money off of my books, and that's the deal that I have made in order to publish my books without having to front load a bunch of money on my own end. So, yes, Raj, I also know that you're younger. So if you wish to buy something, you got to go talk to a parent, which is one of the reasons why I don't normally hammer like buy my books, because I also know that a lot of people who watch Camille's Harem are on the younger end. I don't want to be someone who's like, I'm going to take advantage of all of these young people by getting them to buy my books. That is not the way I want to roll. I don't want to be one of those despised YouTubers. Let's see here. Han says, how to finish writing my script fast because I am really on a tight schedule. Hannah, I will get to that in just a sec. Arts, and get some fried dough. Definitely hit up that fried dough booth, man. Ooh, yes. There's the chimney dough booth, which is quite tasty to go to. I remember trying that out one year and thinking this is weird, but then actually watching them put together the dough, seasoning it, and then them frying it and getting it nice and fresh. Ooh, so good. But Hannah, how to finish writing my script fast because I'm really on a tight schedule? Well, here's the thing. There is no magic way of getting anything done super fast without the risk of burning yourself out. If you have a script that you want to get done, you have to ask yourself, how much am I going to put into this manuscript? For instance, if it's written, am I writing 2,000 words for this manuscript? And that's kind of what I'm envisioning I will end up writing. Okay, 2,000 words. Unfortunately, I'm only able to write maybe 400 to 500 words a day. So then you tell yourself, okay, then I need to make sure that I actually set aside the time to write 400 to 500 words a day in order to get 2,000 words within 4 to 5 days. That would be the goal. If you are drawing something, you then need to say, okay, then I'm going to have a manuscript with 10 different illustrations or 10 different pages of illustrations. I know that I can do a full page a day without burning myself out. And so if I need 10 pages, I need at least 10 days. And that is then where you look at your schedule, you look at your deadline, you say, does the deadline match what I know I can realistically do? And this is where a lot of people end up falling apart because they know what they can do and they know how much they need or want to do, but then they set for themselves deadlines that are either way too quick and causes them to burn out, or way too far in the distance that encourages them to be lazy. So, Hannah, what you need to do is you need to have, first of all, you need to know what your deadline is. You need to know how much work needs to go into that manuscript, whatever it be, in order for it to be done. And then you need to ask yourself, how much can I reasonably do in a day? And then based on the difference between now and your deadline, figure out what you can do. And if you can't do it, you can't do it. Don't hurt yourself trying to do something that you can't. But then say, okay, by this deadline, I will have this much done. So in order to meet a specific goal on a constrained timeline, you need to know your deadline, know how much your project needs, i.e. word count, page count, drawings, and then how much you can do in a day. There's your math. When you're talking about the fried dough, the downside is the powdered sugar gets everywhere. Oh yeah, it does. It most definitely does. Though, as someone who has eaten quite a few Berliner, or as they call them in southern Germany, Krapfen, where you get tons of powdered sugar on what it is that you're eating, I have learned how to not get that stuff to explode in your face or to go all down your front. It requires you to kind of bend, stretch your neck, and then proceed to cram everything into your mouth like a glutton. But it works. You look silly, but you don't get messy. Aha! Okay. So, a quick little bit of just some thoughts that I've had throughout this week before we dive on into the lesson. First of all, I have the Deltarune footage going right here because tomorrow you guys will get the video about Bergley's dialogue that was given to us in the most recent Deltarune newsletter. So the whole thing about you, me, festival, the comment that has had the shipping community up in arms. What could be going on? I finally finished that video, having a look at multiple possibilities, and I think that you guys will be interested in what I have to say. And hopefully there's a good writing lesson in there for you guys as well. Then, shifting gears just a wee bit, on over here to footage from Elden Ring. I have finally finished the entirety of That Time I Married a Goddess. My whole isekai parody story is complete. You can see it. You can see all 9 episodes. The 9th episode went up this week, and it's interesting knowing now that I don't have that as a project to work on anymore. Part of that being is because I've spent about a year now working on this little series, not even really knowing how much I would in the end put on into it. I think at one point I was actually even looking at like a full year, 12 episodes. It ended up not being the case. Ended up just being 9 episodes. Include in there the Shadow of the Erd Tree, which I was not expecting when I first started off with it. So quite a bit of adventuring, and I've been talking with a friend about what I might do now as another fun little creative outlet here on YouTube. So I have other original projects in mind, stuff that isn't parodying or using someone else's, well, at least one which definitely doesn't use anyone else's material, another one which does, but seeks to actually kind of elevate it. So one of the projects I've been talking with a friend about is trying to actually do an animated adaptation of the D&D glory story / horror story known as Old Man Henderson. that it's the kind of story like here we talk about keep it PG-13. It's definitely not a PG-13 story, but it's for one thing, it's pretty hilarious. It's probably one of the best revenge stories in a tabletop role playing game, where one of the players just knew that the game master was out to get them, and so it was like, fine, I'm going to create something that you have no way of ever going up against, and used the game master's own world and mechanics against them to create one of the zaniest characters of all time and obliterate the entire game. It is glorious. It is hilarious. Basically, one of the players had one of his characters get killed. He got really angry at the game master, and so he created this insane Scotsman who is high and drunk all the time, doesn't believe that any of the things that are happening are actually happening because he believes it's just an effect of him being high, and is on a quest to retrieve his lawn gnomes from the Mormons, who he thinks have stolen his lawn gnomes. Though it keeps changing who has stolen his lawn gnomes. Different people in his drug addled, alcohol addled brain have stolen his lawn gnomes, and it gets so bonkers as they're fighting against monsters from Lovecraft's horror stories. It's so insane. But in order to do that, because I myself am not an artist, nor am I an animator, that goes well beyond my skill set. And so in order for me to try something out like that, what I would have to do is I'd have to find artists to work with, and very likely to gain support for this, because it would require quite a bit of money, and money that I don't have on hand to make an animated short. If we just look just at what Dungeon Flippers has done, which is pretty good, but it's like decent in terms of animation and style, that's $50,000 to make one episode and make it decent. And that, again, that's money that I don't personally have just lying around. So in order then to get the support to make an episode, again, worth around $50,000, would then require building up interest, getting revenue in other various ways. So this would be a completely different creative endeavor than anything I've done before, to basically be a producer, be a director and a producer. Then there is also a totally original story that I had came up with years and years ago to tell a kind of tongue-in-cheek dark fantasy story in the style of a Don Bluth movie, surrounding a mouse who wants to be a hero, but he is awful at it. Not that he's a bad person, but rather the magic that he relies on to do his incredible stuff is very buggy. There's a lot of things wrong with it, and most of the mice in his village don't really like him, and so he, when it's time to save the village from this usurper hound who has taken over the kingdom, the mouse goes on his own quest to try to become the hero that his village needs, while the other people who are actually labeled as heroes go off to do their own thing. And he then assembles this absolute group of misfits, from a disgraced cat knight, to a pirate to a rat who's a pirate captain but is really unhinged, a cobra that's got stuff going on, just really ridiculous characters who have to join up with this mouse to raise an army to go fight against this usurper dog. So that would be that story. And again, to make that happen would require quite a bit of work, especially if I want the Don Bluth artistic look to it. And that's something that I've been in talks with some people about, but so far nothing has really gone forward, unfortunately. So as far as like completely new creative endeavors, stuff that's beyond just my books and beyond doing these videos here on YouTube, it's going to take a little while. But I do want to do more creative stuff. I just want to do it. Being creative is so much fun. Hannah says, "Thank you. Sorry I didn't respond. So busy typing like a beast trying to figure this out." No worries, Hannah. I'm glad that you're getting to work. George says, "I thought you were talking about TF2 Demon Man for a second." Nope. Old Man Henderson. In regards to the mouse story, like Don Quixote, more than Don Quixote, because Don Quixote is actually a little bit insane, and doesn't fully understand what the heck he's doing. In this case, the mouse mage, it's just his magic that's wonky, not actually him. Shade, only 4 viewers? You deserve more, dude. Well, and that's what happens. The topic for tonight is not necessarily the sexiest, coolest thing that could pull a person in to watch one of these videos. So that's just the way that it goes. Maybe for a future live stream, we'll have something truly awesome that will grab up tons of people. But you can't win them all, and you can't fish them all. All right. Last couple of things that I kind of want to get off my chest and out of my mind. Hold on a second here. Let me take a drink. There we go. Hey, Common Craft Brazil is here. Hey, hello. What did I miss? Not too much. Just a bunch of pontificating. So, good. Getting it all back onto track. Oh, really fun. So funny thing here, and you guys can actually try this out for yourselves and see if this is still the case. But I recently learned that Google AI stole. So, well, maybe stole is not the right word, but misused one of my quotes from a video now that I did. What is it now? A little over a year ago, where I was looking at how much some of the stories done over at Glitch Productions have cost to make. Talking about Murder Drones and the Amazing Digital Circus, and I said, look, I don't have the numbers, but based on the standard within Hollywood, this is what they would normally spend on an episode like the Amazing Digital Circus. The Amazing Digital Circus would cost at least $3 million per episode, which is ridiculous to think about because they are making those episodes on a fraction of the price. And Luke and Kevin themselves have even said that Hollywood executives have reached out to them being like, how on earth are you guys making this happen? This should not be possible. And they're like, why are you guys spending $3 million on an episode when less would suffice? So, well, what Google AI did was that they misquoted me. If you type into Google, ask them, how much does one episode of the Amazing Digital Circus cost? The AI response is going to be it made $400,000. Not that it cost $400,000, but that it made $400,000, because that was the speculation that I made based on my own math back when I did that video of how much it had earned versus what I thought it might cost, which I was like, maybe it costs $300,000, because let's say that they're only operating on a tenth of the supposed budget of a Hollywood production, which I don't know what the actual price is for anything that Glitch has done. Cartoon Universe, the channel Cartoon Universe, claims to know how much each episode costs, but to my knowledge, they've not released anything that actually says how much Glitch Productions has paid for any of their shows in order to produce them. So again, it was just something I recently learned. I was like, that's interesting. Google AI is misquoting me to answer a question, and doesn't even actually answer the question because, to my knowledge, Glitch has not revealed that information. So something interesting that anyone can go and check out. And if it's not up there anymore, then fantastic. Then they've corrected a mistake. Let's see here. I think the last thing that I wish to get off my chest, just because I think it does need to be talked about, is that I made a video almost a year ago talking about how you shouldn't have champions. And what I mean by that, and I feel like it's very pertinent right now with all the stuff that's happening with Neil Gaiman, with how people have been turning on Brandon Sanderson, with the revelation that Elon Musk was cheating at gaming, all of these things. There's all of these fans now who are losing their collective minds, being like, no, like, there's no one out there for us. The people we believed in, they've betrayed us. Everything is woke, or everything is awful, or everything is a lie. And this is what comes about when you have champions as opposed to heroes or role models. There's the saying, of course, never meet your heroes, but I found that some of the heroes that you can meet in real life are actually really decent men and women, really, really good people, even better than the media makes them out to be. But then there's others who, of course, have their dark past, and you're like, oh, that's not good. And you should have your heroes, and you should have your role models. You should have people that you know you can look up to and be inspired by. But you shouldn't have champions. And what I mean by that is you shouldn't have someone who you expect to fix all of your problems. So like for me as an author, I want to have greater opportunity and access to traditional publishing because I want to get my stories published. However, I'm not going to get that. At least not by someone like Brandon Sanderson, or by some new no-name author who comes out of nowhere. Not even some really cool guy like Olin Rogers. These guys cannot create my path for success. They can do amazing things. In fact, they can create opportunities that other people might be able to capitalize on. But the way that people reach those opportunities is not by completely mimicking those other individuals or by sucking up to them, which is the absolute worst. And so what I would say is this, is that rather than having champions, people like Elon Musk who are going to change the gaming industry. No, he's not. If the guy cheats at gaming, of course he's not going to fix the industry. People have been saying that J.K. Rowling or George R. R. Martin or Brandon Sanderson will fix fantasy. And well, I'm not exactly sure what about fantasy needs to be fixed, but while those people can write their own stories, they're not going to do something that I could do or that someone else could do. And their accomplishments aren't going to be the end-all be-all and the magical key that unlocks everything and fixes everything. Don't have champions. Have role models, have heroes, but you yourself, as a creator, as an author, you need to do your own work. No one's going to write your own story. And sure, some people might laugh and say, well, what about AI? Not even AI is going to fix your lack of skill. You can put something into an engine and say, I want you to write this story, and it will do it for you. But unless you put in the work and actually improve as a creator yourself, AI is only as good as you tell it to be. And you know what? AI is not that great. And nor is any ghostwriter going to make something as cool as you could have done if you had developed the skills for yourself. This is the fallacy that so many Hollywood producers have, that because they have access to money and to talent, even though it's not their own, that they can just simply take it and make something great without ever themselves actually being good storytellers themselves. So there you have it. There's my soapbox moment. I've just been seeing too much dumb stuff online recently that I'm just like, oh, people. Don't rely on someone else to do something for you that you should probably do yourself. And for us creators, we find the most benefit, the most fulfillment doing this work ourselves, exploring these avenues for ourselves, succeeding and failing. I have failed a lot as a creator, and I have learned from those experiences. And that's something I would never have if I just relied on a champion to do everything for me. If I relied on someone else to do everything for me, I would not have had this opportunity to be a part of Camille's harem, to work with some of my best friends, and to be here with you guys. So, with that being said, Commoncraft says, I just checked Google and said there isn't much information, then listed some theories. One YouTuber estimated that the pilot, the Amazing Digital Circus, made over $2 million from ad revenue and merchandise sales, and that should have made around 1.156 million ad revenue alone. The user estimated that the show may have sold around 1 million worth of merchandise. That's what Google said. Yeah, so it's taking numbers from YouTube. Again, it's just, that's a theory right there. And I don't think that they even link me or any other YouTuber who actually said any of that stuff. Evidence that, once again, you shouldn't just rely on whatever AI generated slop gets thrown at you at the very top of a Google search. All right, so all of that out of the way, we are a half an hour on in. I've seen people come and go. Let's actually get down to the lesson. All right, starting your story, part 2 of the lesson. So, to continue with beginnings, today we are going to focus on having the most important world building information necessary to move forward with writing. You do not need everything. Don't lose the forest for the trees, meaning don't get tied up in the details. Use the most important stuff to push forward and write. And a great way of envisioning this is to think about an iceberg. Icebergs are huge, but all of the crazy detail and the history to them and everything is underneath the water. This represents all of the world building and the work that you do behind the scenes, as well as even you can think about it in terms of your story. When people open up to the very first pages of your book, they are only going to get a small fraction of the world, of the characters, of the plot. And that's absolutely fine, because the opening cannot carry the entire story all on its own. It's meant to be the hook, the invitation, the opening of the door into this grand mansion of a story, or the opening of the door out onto the great long road that will tell the story. And so when you think of an iceberg, it's the same way with openings and the rest of your story. What you see on top is just a fraction of the greater iceberg. And that's the same way it is with the opening of your story. It's meant to entice, it's meant to invite, to hook, and everything else is waiting to be explored. So let's then continue. Remember from last week. This is from last week, and you guys can go and you can check out last week's live stream to go back over this, where Nathan and I were talking about the stuff in detail. There is a handy checklist that you can use to help yourself when it comes to writing an opening to your story. But remember this, that there are no concrete rules for how you open your story. I've recently seen that a bunch of other people on YouTube who are like, I'm a writer, listen to me. They're like, I have the way to craft the perfect opening to your book. And I'm like, no, you don't, because it will always differ from book to book to book. There are some things that you should be thinking about that help you to know what you might want to focus on, so that way your opening is as complete and precise and hooking as possible, but it will always change from story to story. So you can think about this. Does your opening establish the atmosphere, meaning the feel, the general feel that the story will have? Does it have at least one of the main characters in the opening? Do we get a hint of the or one of the main conflicts of the story? Does it give the audience an indication of the story's overall pacing? And will the audience learn something critical for later? All of these details, if they can be in the opening, make the opening very strong. Maybe, though, you might shake some things up. You might shift some things around to create either a greater mystery, to pose a bigger question, to create maybe a very fantastic action opening where you're just focusing more on the action and a main character. Whatever it is that you're doing, again, you want to make sure that the opening is hooking, that it's interesting, that it gets people wanting to read more. You can't craft a perfect opening based off any one formula. The checklist that I have right here at least helps you to think about what your opening might need to make it stronger. But based on what you yourself are writing, it might not be something that hits all of these points. And that's just something to bear in mind. And I know that makes it so frustrating. Lars, what's the writing advice? This is the writing advice. Do what is best for your story. But I can guarantee you this, that if you have these points in there, establishing the atmosphere, already introducing us to one of the main characters, getting a hint of one of the main or the main conflict at the opening, does it give the audience an indication of the overall pacing, and will they learn something important for later on? If you can have those 5 things, your opening will feel strong, and it might entice more readers to stick with you through to the end. Now then, example time. So, this is where we start getting into world building. What I asked people to do last week, and I'm not sure how many people did it. This is an online course, so people kind of come and go and work at their own pace. But what I asked people to do was to work on the world building for the opening to their story and make it concise. Make it as concise as you possibly can. At ISO's request, I posted some of my own notes that are up and available on our community tab. And I'll actually I'm going to quickly pop on over there so that way I can share with you guys my screen. Hold on just a moment. Go to community to posts. And let's see here. There we are. Okay. So let me quickly share my screen. Yeah. There we are. Okay, so let's see here. Nope, not that. Not allow. Come on. Hey, don't say that you're blocking my screen. Come on. Comicraft, you're having dinner right now? Go and enjoy an amazing dinner. So I hope it is absolutely delicious. All right, here we go. The eternal wheel. All right, so popping on over here. These are some of the notes that I had made that I shared on YouTube for you guys to have a look at if you wished about what my story will have. I've got some stuff in here, some important items: the Divine Mantle, the Infinite Codex. I've got characters: Kizawa Moko, Hakuto Sai, Kosa Reisu. Then I have classifications of people. I have the Graced, the Gear Witches, the Written Warriors, the Wranglers, Gate Wardens, the Wraiths. And then I also have some little notes in here about the first chapter. So that is what I had. And I'm going to show you guys in slide form how I condense that even further. Because something that I have noticed from a lot of authors is that they get hung up on building up to the story that they wish to write. They kind of hit this wall of creativity, creativity is really good, but it's so easy to get absolutely overwhelmed by all the world building details. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys the world building details that I withdrew from this larger story that I said, only these things will I focus on. None of this other stuff. I'm not going to worry about the setup for various characters. I'm not going to worry about political plotting. I'm not going to worry about the greater implications of the magic system. None of that. Everything that I'm about to show you guys is what is directly applicable for that chapter, for the opening to my book. So that way I could confidently move forward and at least begin it. There are things that are going to change in the editing process. There's obviously going to be more that I'm going to have to add on, but the opening, at least in its beginning, can be as strong as I can possibly make it in its first draft, which I will be sharing with you guys next week. So let's have a look here at the pertinent information that will allow me to write my opening chapter. So, the world of Gearwitch. Here I have the first of my main characters, Kizawa Moko, or just simply Moko, the Gearwitch. She's stranded in the middle of the Iron Ring, a fortress that serves as the cold, foreboding heart of a twisted collection. She worked with the Monarch mercenaries to steal a very valuable treasure, the Divine Mantle, and in turn get the Infinite Codex. Dead at her feet is the Conservator, Hidomo Ken, a man who despised gear witches and envied them at the same time. He's hoarded the most amazing creations under the protection of the worshippers. A freshly minted thief and murderer now at the beginning of the book. They'll be part of the opening. Is that, yeah, there's a dead man at her feet. Moko needs to escape the Iron Ring's remaining guards and the worshippers sent to apprehend her. Now then, this is kind of like the hook that one might expect to find at the back of a book, which that's its own thing entirely. This is just information for me to know. I'm not going to focus on who Moko's grandfather is or who her older brother is, what their histories are. I'm not going to focus on how her hat works the way that it does. I'm not going to focus on how many different bits of scrap metal she needs in order to make things work. I'm not even going to worry about how she splits her soul into various fragments in order to empower her various creations. Those are all aspects of the world building of this book, but that is not what is important for the opening. So therefore, I'm not going to worry about it. Then I have one of our next characters, Hakuto Sai, a wily thief and saboteur who is trying to financially who is trying to escape financial ruin and execution in other city-states by acquiring a magnificent treasure during Operation Sticky Paws, as the constables of Shiniyama City call it. He is laid back, very skilled, smooth, and fine talker, good-humored, and a struggling smoker. As we'll see when we get introduced to him, he's got a nasty habit. Smoking is not good, kids. Don't do it. Though a good friend to those who are useful to him, number one, meaning Sai himself, is the most important thing or person to him. And that will definitely play a role in not only the opening where we get to meet him, but throughout the story. And so that already, coming back to will the audience learn something critical for later? You learn something critical about him that will play a role later on in the story. That numero uno being Sai himself is the most important thing. Let's see here. I feel like I'm missing someone. How did this? Yeah, okay. Why is this slide over here? That's interesting because he should have been right after Sai. I'm like, where's the other dude? So here's then my third character. No, this is not what he's going to look like. It was very, very hard finding anime fantasy policemen because in most fantasy anime you don't actually have policemen. So here we have Koso Reisu, or just Reisu, a constable of Shiniyama City, who is hiding his identity as a gear wraith. He is a physically imposing guy with dyed black hair and is very tall. He is calmer than Sai, though emotional in his own way. He values honor, Reisu is absolutely loyal to the city of Shiniyama, the meaning of his profession as a constable, and to the people he loves. Although there's a lot of corruption in Shiniyama, thanks to the oligarchs who control it, Reisu puts his love of the city above the temptations of money. He's such a good boy. He has his own troubled past as a gear wraith that he is trying to keep a secret, which is a soft leverage that Sai holds over him. So those are then some things I need to make sure that come across in the opening when you meet Reisu and Sai. Now to get to the last bit of world building, the last pertinent bit of information. So graced. Who are the graced? Graced are people born with amazing magical powers. Their abilities are believed to be gifts from the ring makers and angels. The graced are split up into 5 categories: gear witches, gate wardens, written warriors, wranglers, and totem whittlers. Now the interesting thing is this. I say totem whittler, but you'll realize there are no totem whittlers on either of these pages regarding magic users, because there are no totem whittlers in the opening of my book. Therefore, I don't need to worry about them. Then we've got gear witches. These are people who can use fragments of their soul to power inventions or even give full life to their creations. They are capable of creating untold numbers of wonders, but they are limited by the fact that they have only one soul, and you can only stretch a soul so far. Written warriors. These are people who manifest the stories they read aloud. They must have their stories on them, and the more they use their powers, the more they sacrifice their senses, starting with their sight. Their powers are only limited by their imaginations and how much of their 5 senses they still have. So if you can imagine this, you got people who can do some really incredible things just by reading it out of a book. However, they begin to lose their senses. And so after a while, written warriors lose their sight. They lose their ability to, they lose their sense of hearing. They start losing their sense of smell, their sense of taste, and ultimately their sense of touch. And so you would have, in this case, like this is something I want to show later on in the book, it's not in the opening, but how there's a written warrior who has to read everything through Braille and is still losing their senses, like they're sacrificing their senses to create all of these amazing things. So they can do really cool stuff, but it comes at a pretty heavy cost. Then for our other magic users, continued, we have the Wranglers. These are graced who are blessed with incredible physicality. They are far stronger than a normal human. They heal rapidly from any injury and get stronger the more they work and recover. In theory, a Wrangler could become as strong as like first rendition Superman. Not Superman who can carry entire galaxies, but like the man who can leap over buildings in one single bound. In theory, a Wrangler could reach that level. The problem is that it would do a whole lot of damage to them. There's only so much that you can make the human body do, even at a superhuman level, before it just starts falling apart. They are still human after all, just very, very insanely strong humans. You then have the Gate Wardens. Gate Wardens are individuals who can see and access the gates. Gates are, these are, blah, blah, blah. Just read what you have right here, Lars. Who can see and access the gates. These are Gate Wardens. They wield mysterious powers that grant them incredible abilities and theoretically unlimited magic, depending on the number of gates they can open. Gates are metaphysical representations of the magical, physical, spiritual, cognitive, and the unknown. So there's just these conduits of magic that only the Gate Wardens can see, and by tapping into them, they can start accessing incredible things. And so Gate Wardens are definitely the magic users that everyone basically fears because they are so incredibly powerful. But then there is one other group. They are not born this way, but rather they are made. These are the Wraiths. These poor souls are graced, who have been tortured to the point of breaking and turned into living antitheses to other graced. For each category of graced, there is a corresponding wraith. Wraiths can undo magic of their opponents with just a touch, and they possess warp bodies of immense physical strength. So these guys are pretty bad. They can still tap into a limited amount of the magic that they were originally born with to use, but ultimately to a far lesser capacity, as opposed to those who have not been wounded and tortured the way that they have. So wraiths are really, really bad. And there are wraiths that are in the opening to my book that Moko has to go up against. So you get to see it. We get to see them in action. And that is something else. So here we have the various magic users who will be present in the opening. Again, there is another order. These are the totem whittlers, but I don't have the totem whittlers in the opening. Therefore, I don't have them as a focus for my pertinent world building to my opening. So now that I've shown this to you guys, when I then show you my story next week, you guys need to hold me accountable to this. We need to see Moko. We need to see Sai. We need to see Resu. And then we need to see the Graced, Gear Witches, Written Warriors, Wranglers, Gate Wardens, and Wraiths. Because I've said that they are all going to be there, that means that they should be there. And then I will leave it up to you guys to judge, when I've shown you my story, if I have done a good enough job of introducing them. If I've introduced the world properly, and my character, and one of the main conflicts, if not the main conflict. You guys will be the judges of how well I have written. So that will be next week. And I'll already just say this, that is also kind of what I will be looking for with you guys as well. With every single person who wishes to be a part of this particular challenge. And I know some people are already undertaking it, which is great. What I'm hoping to see is that some people will be willing to share the openings of their stories, so that way we as a harem can read them here during a live stream, and then can provide commentary. And also that you guys, while joining us on that live stream, will be able to provide your own commentary. So that way we can see in a healthy, positive environment what it's like to receive some critique, some feedback, and how that might be implemented going into the next draft and going forward along with your story. So that is important, is very important right there to note. And it will be a chance to be responsible for your own writing, because you will have shown it to others, which is a huge deal. But when you can do that, when you're finally able to start sharing your writing with other people, it's incredibly liberating, and it's one of the biggest hurdles that new authors have to overcome. All right, so addressing what we have right here, success is also like an iceberg. Here's the thing, keep it sweet and simple. There's a lot to work on that goes into making a book, but don't overcomplicate the opening. All that hard work will pay off throughout the book. But for right now, focus on delivering a strong, hooking opening. That is what you're going to have to do. And so here is the writing challenge. Pare it down. For all of the world building, for all of the notes that you guys already have for your stories, take it down. Create a checklist for yourself of the most important elements of your story that your opening needs to contain in order to establish some of your main characters, the world, the pacing, one of the main conflicts, whatever it is that you need. So it's a strong opening. Have a checklist for yourself of what it needs, and keep it sweet and simple. So again, popping back on over here, I don't show you guys anything about the world whittlers because the totem whittlers, because you guys don't need to know them at this part of the story. And there's plenty of other characters that I intend to show you guys later on as the book evolves. But for right now, Moko, Sai, and Resu are the most important ones. So those are the only people I need to concern myself with. Pare it down. And in the notes that I shared on the community post, there's stuff in there about the Divine Mantle, the Monarch Mercenaries, the Infinite Codex, all important stuff. However, again, that's not very important to the opening. So therefore, I removed it from my checklist. It's cool stuff. It's good that I know it because it's going to be important later on. But for right now, it isn't. So I removed it from my checklist. And that's what I want you guys to do. Have that checklist of what your opening needs. Keep it sweet. Keep it simple. And then start writing. What I hope to see is that you guys will share the openings of your stories by next Friday. There will be a Google form that will be present, on a community post on our channel that will allow you to share with us the opening to your story, if you wish. We hope that you will, because it will be a great experience if you do. And we will read in the next live stream through each submission that's been given to us, and we will provide feedback on it. That is our goal. So there you have it. That right there is the lesson. Sweet, to the point, simple. There's your challenge. Create a checklist of all the important things that your opening will need, that your opening needs, not that every opening needs, but that your opening needs in order to be as strong as it can possibly be. And then start writing it. Some of you have already gotten started. Some of you might not have started yet. You have a week to get your work turned in. And I really, really hope that you will take part in this challenge, that everyone will, because the more the merrier, and also because this will be an opportunity to receive some feedback on your story from other people, which is always good. It's one of the biggest hurdles everyone has to overcome. And we guarantee that we will be our absolute best selves with this, to give you a positive experience, positive feedback. Some of it might be critical, but we will give it in a positive way, so that way you can, again, experience that. Because that's another thing that a lot of people are pretty scared about, is receiving that feedback for their stories. So this is, again, a way to help you confront that fear, to help you start writing, and to overcome all of these different hurdles in one go. Because opening a story is, without a doubt, one of the hardest things that anyone goes through as a writer. Hannah says, can I do more than one project opening? Yes, you can, if you wish to share that with us. Please go ahead and do. Josh says, Kay, we'll try, we'll cry, and we'll roll my brains die. I'll just hope for the best. Hey, Drudge, that's all that we ask for. And it's okay if it's not perfect. When I share with you guys my opening, I know it's not going to be perfect. There'll be spelling mistakes and grammatical mistakes. There'll be things I'm like, ooh, I could have written that so much better. But that's okay. That's absolutely okay. Because, again, this is an opportunity for us to learn and to grow. And that will go for all of us. Arts984 says, oh, yes. Excellent. All right. So with that all being said and done, again, that's basically everything that I've got planned for tonight. If there's any last minute questions or concerns anyone has, please feel free to put them there into the chat, and I'll quickly answer them. And we will then wrap up this live stream. And again, I know this is pretty quick, but that's because I got to get ready for tomorrow. And says, wait, that's it? Yep, that's it. Now, Art says, opening our poster openings on the Google Doc. Not on the Google Doc. No, Arts. We will have a Google form that will allow you to post your story, post the opening to your story. So that way, then you don't have to worry about it getting mixed up with all these other people's stuff right there. And you can kind of keep things to yourself without people coming on in and putting on little comments here and there already before we have the chance to come all together as a group. Because I think that makes it a little bit more fun. And also that means that you're not getting them peppered by someone, because there's always that one person who jumps on a little bit sooner and already starts commenting with all this stuff, and you get bombarded with all of this feedback. and then you start fixing things before everyone else has a chance to see it, and then it just becomes a mess. It happens way too often. So the Google form will be there to kind of help remove that problem, hopefully. Hannah, the Google form has not yet been put up. I will have it up really soon. It'll be on the community post, and we'll draw attention to it throughout the week, so that way people know that it's there, and that if they want to participate, they can then upload their opening there. George says, also, how does the form work? From what I remember, it's just a place to answer MCU questions. So Drudge, the form will be accessible through a link. When you click on that link, it's just going to simply ask you for your name, so that way we know to credit the person with that particular opening. And then there will be a box where you can just plop all of your writing right down there, so that way we can cover it. If, for instance, like I know with Hannah's been doing drawings and the likes, if you have illustrations that you wish to share as part of the opening for your story, you will need to share that with us through Discord. So if you want to share any illustrations with us as a part of your story, you need to make sure that you're part of our Discord server. If you aren't already there, then please make sure that you reach out to us in the comments for this video or for any other video. Say that you wish to join, and then we will conduct a very swift interview with you, and then provide you a one-time link that will get you onto our Discord. That is the way that we do things. All right, so George says, okay, I will try. Excellent. That is what we ask for. Any other questions or concerns that people have? And excellent. I have answered that. I've answered the question. Woohoo! And again, for those of you who are interested in Deltarune stuff, just remember that there will be a new Deltarune video out tomorrow morning. Or at least morning for me, might be afternoon, day, evening for other people elsewhere. But it should be fun to watch. And also, I'll say this right here, is that if anyone is interested in hearing what my crazy theory is for what the fair in Hometown is going to be like, let me know, and I can then start putting together a video for that. Because as I was working on this analysis of Birdley's dialogue that we got for Chapter 4, I was like, wait a second. I think I know what might happen in Chapter 4. And I was like, ooh, this is exciting. So if people are interested, I will make that happen. Hannah asks, do I have to put my real name on the Google form? No, you don't, Hannah. If you wish to have your online name, or your YouTube name, or your Discord server name, whichever name that you wish to use, just make sure that you put that you put that name there, and that way then we can credit the story to that name. And if you're there for the live stream, you say, "Ooh, that's mine." If you're, for instance, you just say Hannah Heaven, then of course everyone will know Hannah Heaven. If you go under like under a pen name, Demetrius the Destroyer, then you might want to say, oh yeah, that's me, Hannah Heaven. Or you can be completely mum about it and just watch people like, ooh, who is this Demetrius the Destroyer? TV account, welcome. Unfortunately, you're coming here at the very end. What did you miss? You missed my pontifications about AI, that you shouldn't have a champion, talking about what new projects I might do now that I'm done with That Time I Married a Goddess. And of course, then the lesson for tonight, which is about selecting the most important bits of your world building that you need in order for you to write your opening. And you can go back once this live stream is done. You can go back and you can look at the slideshow that is presented. So that way you've got everything that you need in order to apply that. And of course, we want you, if you're feeling up to it, to share your story, the opening to your story, with us next Friday. That is what next Friday's live stream will be. It will be us reading through the openings that have all been submitted via the Google form that will be on the community post. We'll have multiple updates about that throughout the week leading up to next Friday, so that way hopefully everyone sees it and has a chance to participate should they like. Let's see here. Missed anything else important? Nope. So that's about it. So sorry for those who've just jumped on. I know usually our live streams go on much later. Next week that'll definitely be the case. But again, because actually real quick right here, before I truly make a promise that'd be difficult to keep. Okay. So next Friday is the 7th. So I just had to double check because I'm like, my oldest sister's birthday is next week. I gotta make sure I keep that in mind because Big Sis does come first. Take time to spend time with your families. It's important. I will keep everyone updated about what the plans will be for next week. And again, I'll be keeping everyone updated about the Google form because this is something I'm really, really excited to do with y'all. And hopefully we can get more people from the harem to participate in that. So we got multiple people reading. You get more points of view, more insights, and it will be grand. TV account, can I have a timestamp for it, please? Like when the lessons start on the stream. TV account, hop into the stream like once you go back to about 35 minutes into the stream. That's about the time where I started wrapping up all of my thoughts and moved us on into the lesson. So 35 minutes into the stream. Now I'll just post it there. Once again, 35 minutes into the stream. All right. And of course, our Arts is already expressing their interest in my theory and thoughts for the fair. Most excellent, and I'm looking forward to potentially doing that, and also because now that we are in the new year, the county fair for where I live, I think I only got to wait like 2 more months before the fair comes to town. Woohoo! I had the chance to go to the county fair before actually going to the fair and possibly breaking Birdley's little heart. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. Again, this was a really short stream. Next time that we do it, it will definitely be longer. But thank you everyone for being here, for participating. Thank you for your thoughts and for your comments and for indulging me in some of my antics. You guys are always great. Art says, I want you to theorize who Burley volunteers to take. LOL. Oh, I definitely have my thoughts in tomorrow's video about who he's talking to, and I will share with you guys potentially then in another video how I think things are going to turn out for the fair. And for some people are not going to be happy with what I have to say, but I think I'm right, especially based on the stuff that chapter 2 gives us. Going through and doing this most recent video and looking back through the gameplay for chapter 2, began to realize I think that Toby has really telegraphed to us what he intends to do, and it's something. All right, guys. So with all that being said, thanks so much for being here, and I hope you all have a wonderful morning, evening, day, wherever you are at. And until tomorrow's video, y'all, tschüss.